It wasn't public, dramatic, or even loud, but that night inside a quiet Malibu estate hidden behind towering hedges, everything began to shift. Emily Blunt didn't walk into that dinner party expecting tension. She arrived with her husband, John Krasinski, carrying years of silence, trust, and routine behind her. Yet, across the polished oak table sat Blake Lively, dressed in beige, smiling too easily, laughing a little too hard at the wrong moments. She wasn't just another guest. She was rehearsing. What Emily didn't realize, until much later, was that Blake wasn't there for conversation but for chemistry. Because sometimes a scandal doesn't start with lies. It begins with a glance, a pattern, and a silence that feels just a little too comfortable. So, why exactly was Blake Lively at the Blunt-Krasinski dinner party in 2023? It wasn't a studio function, not a press thing, not even a casual industry meetup. There was no crossover project, no pilot, no reason, at least none that made sense on paper. And yet, 2 weeks later, a private memo from Emily's team surfaced, containing just one flagged name, Blake Lively. From that point on, things began to unravel quietly. What seemed at first like coincidences started forming a pattern. John Krasinski's schedule shifted abruptly. A planned press interview was pulled. A regular lunch between him and Emily was rescheduled multiple times without explanation. Then came the messages from stylists, mutual friends, and even acquaintances who had no reason to be connected, all saying the same thing. It's so cool you and Blake are so close. But Emily wasn't laughing. She hadn't been invited to those dinners, wasn't on those group threads, and whatever was happening wasn't friendship, it was replacement. The turning point came in early 2024 when a behind-the-scenes clip from a branded fashion shoot surfaced. The brand was a longtime Hello Sunshine collaborator. The shoot had originally been pitched to Emily's team. Yet there was Blake, unexpectedly present, wearing a beige trench coat styled exactly like Emily's signature look, sitting in the same setup, smiling at John off-camera. Fans dismissed it as coincidence, just Hollywood circles overlapping, but insiders knew it was deliberate. Blake hadn't pitched herself. She'd already been approved. And in Hollywood, approved doesn't happen by accident. Every deleted tweet, every quiet PR cover-up, every false statement takes hours to untangle, and this one was no different. But what made Blake's approach chilling was its subtlety. She didn't tweet. She didn't post selfies. She didn't even take new roles near John's projects. Instead, she operated through proximity, placing herself in rooms Emily used to own, meetings, branding calls, events, and slowly, she began talking about marriage. Not hers. Someone else's. She'd make comments like, "Not every relationship has to be so curated." To most, it sounded harmless. But to those who understood the context, it wasn't small talk. It was precision. Then came Dior. Emily had been in talks to lead a campaign, but when the event arrived, it was Blake who showed up alone, saying, "No one. I was always the backup." That single quote sent whispers through the industry. And when a leaked PR email later appeared, it confirmed what many suspected. Under casting adjustments, it read, "Pending replacement. Emily Blunt, Blake Lively. Status: quiet transfer." This wasn't just about a role. It was about erasing presence, taking up space where another woman once stood. Yet Emily didn't respond. She didn't subtweet or leak to the press. She didn't even unfollow. Because when your name is being erased quietly, you don't respond loudly. You respond strategically. Her first move was Sandra Bullock. They had worked together before, cleanly and without drama. So when a new women-led thriller began circulating, many expected Emily to co-star. Instead, she declined and Sandra signed on, but only on one condition: Blake Lively would not be involved. The industry noticed. Then came Nicole Kidman. Since 2022, she and Emily had been developing a mini-series with Amazon Studios. Insiders say after the Blake rumors began, Nicole doubled down on the project, ensuring Emily remained attached and fully supported. Quietly, alliances were forming, not out of gossip, but solidarity. By mid-2024, Emily had repositioned herself entirely, pulling out of certain campaigns, aligning with collaborators who valued privacy and consistency over spectacle. Meanwhile, Blake's pattern of subtle encroachment became impossible to ignore. What began as a harmless dinner party had evolved into a silent power play, one that tested reputations, marriages, and unspoken hierarchies. And while the tabloids never caught on, the industry did. Because in Hollywood, not all wars are fought on camera. Some unfold in whispers, casting memos, and quiet transfers, the kind of battles that never make headlines, but change everything behind them. And this time, Emily Blunt, the woman once known for her silence, chose not to stay quiet. She didn't explode publicly or issue statements. She moved with intent, reclaiming her space not with noise, but with presence. That was her counterattack in this quiet war. The project had been delayed and postponed, but now it was finally back. Only this time, Nicole Kidman went solo. The storyline centered on a media strategist whose life is copied piece by a woman pretending to be her ally. Sound familiar? Soon after, Florence Pugh entered the picture. Fresh off a major press tour with Emily Blunt, Florence posted an Instagram story showing herself reading The Art of War, captioned, "I don't raise my voice, I just move pieces." Then came what should have been a routine podcast interview for Emily, an easy conversation about motherhood, marriage, and the media. Nothing controversial, nothing risky. But halfway through, the host asked, "How do you deal with people who smile to your face and then do something completely different behind the scenes?" Emily paused, tilted her head, smiled softly, and replied, "I think some people mistake working together with using someone. And I've learned that if someone tries to make a name off your silence, it's time to make a different kind of noise." The host froze. The studio went silent. Within hours, the clip hit 3 million views because it wasn't vague, it was a bullseye. She hadn't named names, but everyone knew who she meant. The comment sections erupted. Did Emily Blunt just confirm the Blake Lively rumors? People asked. That line about using someone's silence was brutal. It wasn't shade, it was strategy. Emily doesn't throw punches, she sets traps. And the most ruthless part? She didn't even promote the episode. No reposts, no likes, no acknowledgement. She let it spread naturally, letting silence do the heavy lifting. The real message wasn't the quote itself, it was what followed. After the clip went viral, the energy in the industry began to shift. Quietly, power was rearranging itself. The first sign came from a leaked Netflix casting email, not a blacklist, not a scandal, just a brief internal note. Subject: Emily Blunt, consider for long-form docuseries lead. Subject: Blake Lively hold. Pending PR risk evaluation. One word next to Blake's name stood out: volatile. Soon, another casting log surfaced, this time showing Blake flagged the same way for 2 major Netflix projects, both of which had Emily and Florence in early talks. It was no coincidence. The pattern was clear. Then Florence struck again, not with a statement, but with another Instagram story, a screenshot of a quote from Reese Witherspoon that read, "There's a difference between ambition and aggression. One builds, the other burns." No caption, just a single flame emoji. That was all it took. Comment sections ignited. Florence is dragging Blake without saying her name. She's siding with Emily. The message spread like wildfire, and while it looked spontaneous, it wasn't. It was coordinated. Quietly. Intentionally. Because while Blake was still busy with styling reels and press circuits, the women who'd once shared her stage had already walked away. By mid-April 2024, the silence surrounding her was deafening, not just online, but within the industry itself. The calls slowed. The invites thinned. And for someone used to constant attention, that kind of quiet was unbearable. So when a Vanity Fair editor offered her a glossy profile, an opportunity to reintroduce herself and reset the narrative, she accepted. It was meant to be a comeback, a chance to control the story again. But instead, it backfired spectacularly. In the interview, Blake laughed, brushed off the rumors, and when asked directly if she and Emily had grown apart professionally, she offered a single cutting line. "Some people mistake boundaries for betrayal. That's not on me." It was meant to sound confident, but it came off defensive, an echo of every headline she'd tried to outrun. The internet pounced. Gaslighting 101. One comment read, "Classic PR spin," said another. Within hours, the backlash was everywhere. She had tried to reframe Emily's quiet withdrawal as a boundary issue, but no one was buying it. The timing made it worse. That same week, Emily Blunt quietly signed on to star in a new Apple TV Plus limited series directed by one of the Crown's key visionaries. The title? The House We Left Behind. The premise? A woman leaves behind a toxic home to rebuild her life from the ground up. The symbolism was impossible to miss, and social media erupted with speculation. Emily's move isn't just a role, it's a message. She didn't need to confirm or deny anything. The casting itself spoke louder than any statement. Because in Hollywood, sometimes revenge isn't delivered through scandal, it's through success. Blake had tried to control the story. Emily rewrote it by living better, moving smarter, and reminding everyone that the quietest person in the room is often the one holding all the cards. If this isn't shade, then what is? Because if Emily Blunt's new role isn't about Blake Lively, it's hard to imagine who else it could be. Once again, Emily was speaking without speaking. Her upcoming series, literally about leaving behind toxicity, was greenlit the same week as Blake's so-called Vanity Fair rebrand interview. This wasn't coincidence, it was chess. For Blake, that interview was supposed to be her big comeback, the start of a redemption arc. Instead, it became a cautionary tale. The rebrand failed, and the silence that followed was louder than ever. But after weeks of vanishing from the spotlight, Blake decided to return, not with a red carpet or magazine cover, but through a carefully curated panel hosted by a major streaming platform celebrating women in leadership. She was billed as a surprise guest, her team quietly seeding hints to influencers. She's ready to talk. She's reclaiming her story. She'll address it on her terms. The stage was set. The lights came up. Blake walked out radiant and rehearsed, every hair and gesture in place. The applause was polite, cautious. And then, without warning, the moderator announced an unscheduled addition to the panel, Emily Blunt. No music, no grand entrance, just presence. She took her seat, one chair between them, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop. For 20 minutes they shared the stage, trading professional smiles, polite nods, the kind of civility that hides everything beneath it. Then came the question that cracked the silence. How do you handle creative differences with people you admire? Blake smiled first, delivering a polished line about grace and boundaries. But before she could finish, Emily spoke. I think sometimes the problem isn't the difference. It's pretending there wasn't a promise made in the first place. The room froze.
She didn't look at Blake. She didn't have to.
That single sentence hit like a blade wrapped in velvet. The moderator fumbled to move on, but the damage was done. When the panel ended, Blake slipped out through a back exit. Emily stayed, taking photos with students, chatting with crew, laughing easily, and by the time Blake reached her car, the clip had already gone viral. That wasn't a mic drop. It was a dismantling in real time. But Blake wasn't finished yet. She had one move left, the move every overmanaged celebrity tries when the narrative collapses, a redemption profile. A glossy shoot, soft lighting, a sympathetic headline. The outlet, Harper's Bazaar. The headline, the silence was survival. Blake Lively breaks her own rules. The article framed everything as a misunderstanding, painting her not as a rival but as a woman under pressure, insisting she never meant to overshadow Emily and blaming the fallout on the strain of perfection. And in the final lines, she offered a single plea, I hope the women who were hurt can forgive me for surviving the only way I knew how. Blake Lively's Harper's Bazaar redemption piece should have worked. It was designed to. In it, she wrote, understand that I was navigating chaos, not creating it. But the article read like it had been written by someone who never understood the story she tried to hijack. Her team should have pulled the plug before it dropped, because hours after it went live, the receipts surfaced. Real ones. A verified Twitter account with no name, no photo, just a blue check and a Dropbox link posted a thread titled This Isn't a Smear, It's a Timeline. Inside were early drafts of the original script, email exchanges between Reese Witherspoon's legal team and the production company, and one memo that changed everything. Subject line: narrative repositioning. Final approval notes from Blake's manager. Dated 2 weeks before Reese officially exited the project. The Harper's piece, it turned out, wasn't a confession. It was a cover-up. The thread went viral within hours. Journalists reposted it. Screenwriters confirmed the leaked materials were authentic. And whatever was left of Blake's defense collapsed overnight. By morning, Harper's Bazaar quietly removed her profile from the homepage. Her team disabled Instagram comments, and the phrase, narrative repositioning, trended worldwide, but not in the way her PR team had intended. Reese Witherspoon said nothing, as always. But Florence Pugh did. She posted a photo of her bookshelf. No caption. Just one title facing forward: The Art of War. Subtle, sharp, perfect. Within minutes, Emily Blunt liked the post. No comment, no repost. Just a single heart, enough for everyone to connect the dots. By that point, Blake had no one left defending her. Not the press, not the influencers, not even her own narrative. And the woman she'd tried to quietly erase was now the one the industry was quoting. 6 months passed. 6 months since Reese had walked away from the quiet years, the project that had started it all. 6 months of silence while headlines about Blake's unraveling dominated entertainment feeds. But Reese hadn't disappeared. She'd been waiting. And in October 2024, Apple TV Plus made a quiet announcement: a new limited series titled Inheritance. A rural, cinematic family drama about 2 estranged sisters uncovering long-buried secrets. Tagline: some roots are better left uncovered. The showrunner? A former Hello Sunshine producer. The executive producer? Reese Witherspoon. And the lead? Emily Blunt. It was, in every way, the spiritual resurrection of the quiet years, only sharper, darker, and with the right woman at the center. Suddenly, everything clicked. Reese hadn't lost the original show. She'd let it go, watched Blake take it, dilute it, and then built the real version from the ground up. The message was unmistakable. She didn't need to fight for credit. She just reclaimed the story. Back in 2022, it had all begun with the quiet years. But this time, there were no glossy magazine spreads, no red carpet smiles, no curated apologies, just story and truth. When Inheritance finally premiered, it was clear within minutes: Blake Lively could never have carried this script. This was what the quiet years was meant to be: layered, restrained, devastating. Meanwhile, Blake's version of the show lingered in quiet oblivion, no renewal, no press push, quietly removed from Hulu's homepage and replaced by newer, safer titles. Then came the final blow: a leaked internal marketing report from one of Hulu's partner agencies. One line, circled in red, said it all: the quiet years branding underperformed. Talent engagement did not meet forecast. Do not renew. Reese didn't gloat. Emily didn't shade. Florence didn't tweet. But Nicole Kidman did. Under a behind-the-scenes photo Reese posted from the Inheritance set, Nicole left a single comment: "We tell our stories when they're ready to be told, and by the right people." It was subtle, elegant, and lethal. That comment marked a new level of Hollywood warfare: quiet, strategic, and absolute. This wasn't just the death of Blake's project. It was the erasure of her version and the resurrection of Reese's original vision. By the second week of Inheritance topping streaming charts, the quiet years had vanished from the homepage, from interviews, even from Blake's Instagram. She didn't archive her posts, she deleted them. No headline announced it. No one needed to. The true ending came somewhere smaller, quieter, a moment at the end of a podcast almost no one expected to go viral. The host asked Reese a simple question: "Do you believe silence can be strategic?" Reese smiled, paused, and said, "Silence is what you use when the truth would burn too loud." That line wasn't just a quote. It was an ending. Within hours, the clip detonated across timelines. Everyone understood what she meant. She didn't have to name anyone. She'd already won. Emily stayed quiet too, never addressing the comparisons, never acknowledging the drama. But during a red carpet Q&A for Inheritance, a journalist asked, "Was this your most personal role?" Emily looked up, held the mic, and said, "Let's just say this one wasn't fiction." That was it. The end of speculation. The quiet confirmation. The final act of Blake's undoing. Because in that moment, everyone saw it clearly. Blake hadn't just lost a part. She'd lost the narrative. She hadn't misplayed the game. She'd walked right into a trap. And Reese? She didn't slam the door behind her. She left it open, let Blake walk through it, and then watched her burn the house down. While Reese built another, stronger, sharper, and just down the street. Blake tried to steal the story, and instead, she was erased from it. Because sometimes silence is weakness. Sometimes it's survival. And sometimes, it's the sharpest weapon in the room. Reese Witherspoon didn't hand Blake Lively a script as a gift. She handed her enough rope. And by the time Blake realized what she'd done, the credits had already rolled.